which is over here. This is a Ju-88. It was also used as a night fighter, although it was mostly used as a bomber, but it was the same size airplane as a Beaufighter. So Joe and Jack are chasing this Beaufighter that they get the Beaufighter, chasing this Ju-88 that they are actually were able to get some holes in. And Joe looks out on the wing of the Beaufighter and he sees part of the wing skin peeling back off the top of the wing. And he says, "Jack, the airplane's starting to come apart." And they kept on going. And then pretty soon more came off and he could actually see light through the wing. And Joe said, "Jack, we got to stop, the wing is coming off." And Jack said, "But I've almost got him." There were 241 men that shipped for Europe on the Queen Elizabeth in May of 1943. 14 lost their lives. And all 31 lost their lives in the course of the war. Here we have a picture of the flight crews from the early original group that went over and started in North Africa in August of '43. Here are the replacement crews that came in later. And you can see there were a lot of people that went through the squadron. In total, I mentioned 31 men were lost by the squadron in the course of the war, 25 of them on operations, 4 in non-aircraft accidents, 1 to illness, and 1 was murdered. Before we go there, only 1 of the squadron's aircraft may have been lost in combat. On the other hand, the squadron was credited with destroying 7 aircraft, had 4 probables, and 11 damaged. On June the 10th, 1945, the squadron was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation for having successfully covered the southern beaches of France during the Allied invasion. And for those of you who have been in the military, you realize that a Presidential Unit Citation is a highly regarded award, and once given to a unit, can never be taken away. Quoting from the accompanying documents paperwork, with a strength of 10 ancient Beaufighters, many of which have been salvaged, rebuilt, and returned to service, courageously went aloft each night, gallantly and with complete disregard for discomforts, dangers, and discouraging weather, determinedly carried out their mission, resulting in shooting down at sea a 4-engine Ju-290 transport at night while maneuvering at less than 20 feet above the water. On that combat mission, that airplane fired 1,400 rounds of ammunition at the Ju-290. In total, there were about 6,000 Beaufighters produced during the war. All of them built in England at 4 different factories, with the exception of 364 that were built in Australia. The British manufactured the last airplane in September of 1945, and they remained in British service until 1960. After the war, the 417th continued on as an occupational squadron in Germany. And there they had the dubious distinction of having to dispose of the P-61s that were still in theater at that time. The 417th has continued on to the present time, most recently as the 417th Nightfighter Squadron flying the F-117A stealth fighter. This plaque that I'm showing you is at the National Museum of the Air Force in Dayton, Ohio. And if any of you are there at any time, you should go to their memorial garden where they have these kind of commemorations there, and it's really quite inspirational. So at this point, I want to show you these patches. These were the patches that were the original artwork worn on the jackets and so forth of the squadron members. And they're pretty darn rare. If you ever see one of it, please do save it, because they represent what a whole lot of people did to support the U.S. Night Fighter program as it was, and in the 417th specifically. At this point, Rick and I would like to try to answer any questions that you may have.
We also, Greg has got, normally we're scheduled for 2 o'clock, and so we've gone long up to the museum. We'll stay as long as you want. So Greg, do we press?
Do we have a couple of questions? Be happy to run around with the microphone. Anyone? Anyone? Back here. Okay.
Do they fly the?
Stand by, Greg. We go.
Do they fly the plane made in the United States, the Black Widow?
Say again, sir?
Did they fly the Black Widow?
They did. They got. The question was, did they fly the Black Widow? So the 4 Beaufighter squadrons eventually transitioned to the P-61. The 417th, as Dan mentioned, finally got them in March of 1945. The war ended in May of 1945. So the 417th did fly operations in the P-61, but just for a short amount of time.
Hi, could you please tell me how low the Beaufighter was capable of flying?
As long as you didn't hit the ground.
That's a lot of people have tried to break that record, and it just doesn't work. But no, it could fly very low. The airplane had supercharged engines, and it could actually go up to as high as about 25,000 feet. But for the normal combat operations, they were between probably 10 and 15,000. The Mediterranean did not operate at the extremely high altitudes that they did in Northern Europe. But the airplane could go low. It was fast. It had a lot of armament on it, which made it ideal for night fighting, because if you finally got lined up with your target, it didn't take long to dispatch it.
A follow-on to that, again, this is in the night fighter role. The RAF, the Royal Canadian Air Force, the New Zealand Air Force, basically other Commonwealth Air Forces used the Beaufighter very, very effectively as a ground attack airplane and anti-shipping, and they went very low indeed.
Now, I'm not usually in the habit of promoting other museums, but as our conversation earlier, you said there are a few of them that you can actually still go see today, right? A few museums in here and overseas?
The Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio does have one Beaufighter. It was actually one that they brought back from Australia and have restored, and it's worth seeing. In England, there is a Beaufighter nearly ready to start flying. I was there 2 years ago, and the main thing they were waiting for at that point were new engines. The engines on this are pretty unique and hard to find the right thing. Other than that, there's parts of several others around. I think, Rick, maybe 6 in total. So there's just not much Beaufighter available.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there is one of the 6 is in Ottawa.
I just wanted to know, is there a significance to the name Beaufighter?
The British like to name their airplanes. We like to number ours and then make them earn their name, like the P-61 Black Widow. Well, the British give them names, and there's really no rhyme or reason to a lot of them. Oftentimes, they start the name with the first letter of the manufacturer. It was the Bristol Beaufighter. It's the way the British do it.
I think that's it for the questions. I bet you there'll be more after we get done here, though. Thank you, gentlemen. Something else you'd like to share?
In the audience today, we have, and this is the fun part of writing this book, is besides the connection to Dan and his father-in-law, his wife and son are here, I would like to ask those who are related to Bow crew members, please, or Bow 417th members, could you please stand up, because I'm tickled pink.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Rick. We appreciate it so much. Over by the P-40 there in the shark's seat, there's my office mate, Carol. She's got books available today. It'd be a good time to get one signed. You just heard about it. Now you can go home and read about it. In about 10-15 minutes, we're going to adjourn to the ramp outside and fly that P-51. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The library, the gift shop, they're all open for you today. Don't forget to visit the cafe. Thank you for coming.